Well, returning now to our top story, Donald Trump's tariffs have angered many here in the capital. Today, more than 100 protesters took to Sussex Drive in front of the U.S. Embassy, speaking out against the American administration. CTV's Austin Lee was at that rally today and joins us with more. Austin.
Yeah, Patricia, the snow certainly wasn't going to stop the dozens of people from flooding the sidewalk right across from the U.S. Embassy. Protesters waving Canadian and Ukrainian flags, and they say they won't be silent, especially if this trade war between Canada and the U.S. worsens. As anger towards Donald Trump reaches a boiling point in the nation's capital, few are voicing their displeasure louder than Mark Bogarts.
I was worried, but now I'm just mad. And I'm going to be out for every protest I can get to and make sure that Trump doesn't cross our border.
He drove 2 hours from Kingston to join a riled-up group of protesters in front of the U.S. Embassy in Ottawa on Tuesday, just 12 hours after Donald Trump imposed sweeping 25% tariffs on Canada and continues his calls to annex the country.
It's beyond my wildest dreams. If my mother was still alive, she'd be freaking in her boots. She'd be here beside me.
Many here still wrapping their heads around the deteriorating state of Canada-U.S. relations.
If you had mentioned this to me like 6 months ago, I'd have probably told you were crazy.
It takes a lot to rile Canadians up. And I think Canadians are riled up and they're speaking out, which they need to do.
At the Ottawa airport, Elizabeth and James Knight are returning home from Florida. They planned the trip months ago and say now, as the trade dispute deepens, their travel plans are changing.
We're not going back to the United States very soon.
We were traveling with friends who in fact changed their travel plans so that they wouldn't stay there, and they flew right home to Toronto.
As for what they heard from some Americans during their time south of the border,
they were apologizing and very upset. So that was encouraging.
Back in front of the U.S. Embassy, protesters say this will not be their last rally.
We are in for a bit of a rough ride and bad weather, and I think we need to look out for one another.
Again, organizers say this is not the final time they plan to protest in front of the U.S. Embassy. If this trade war escalates, they expect these anti-Trump protests only to grow in the weeks ahead. Patricia.
All right, CTV's Austin Lee live for us tonight. Thank you.